Some real crime instances stand out not just for their startling aspect, but also for the tenacity of the persons involved. Katie Beer's story is one such terrible narrative that captivated the country in the early 1990s. The kidnapping and imprisonment of a young girl sent shockwaves across communities, changing how society views child protection. Catherine Beers, born on December 30th, 1982, went through a terrifying event when she was 9 years old in Bay Shore, New York. She was kidnapped on December 28, 1992, by a family friend named John Esposito, and held captive in an underground bunker for nearly 2 weeks until January 13, 1993. As a result of Esposito's activities, this tragic tragedy occurred. The kidnapping was a traumatic event in Beer's life, demonstrating the vulnerability of youngsters even within supposedly comfortable groups. The event drew attention to child safety problems and the significance of being vigilant in protecting children from possible threats, even in seemingly safe surroundings. Katie Beers lived in Long Island, New York with her mother, Marilyn Beers, and her elder half-brother, John Beers. Notably, her biological father has yet to be identified. Katie was raised by her godmother, Linda Inghilary, and Linda's husband, Salvatore. Because of Marilyn's chronic negligence, Katie and John were placed in the care of the Inghilaris. Unfortunately, the siblings suffered horrifying maltreatment while under their custody, most notably numerous intimate attacks by Salvatore. Katie's life was complicated further by the presence of John Esposito, a family friend. While Esposito appeared to be kind by lavishing time and gifts on Katie and John, he revealed a dark side by sexually abusing John Beers. Esposito's disturbing behavior was not unusual, as indicated by his arrest in 1977 for attempting to kidnap a 12-year-old boy. Katie Beer's childhood was marred by insecurity, neglect, and exploitation within her own family and social groups. The upsetting circumstances underline the need for protecting vulnerable people and resolving abuse concerns to guarantee the well-being of youngsters throughout their formative years. Katie Beers found herself pulled to the house of John Esposito in Bay Shore, New York, on December 28, 1992, just 2 days shy of her 10th birthday. The appeal was the promise of birthday gifts, a seemingly benign invitation that would quickly turn into a nightmare. After a round of video games in Esposito's bedroom, the scene took a nasty turn when Beers was dragged into an underground concrete bunker. This subterranean compartment, 6 feet by 7 feet in size, was cleverly hidden underneath Esposito's garden. Its entry was covered by a powerful 200-pound concrete trapdoor, artfully placed behind a bookcase in Esposito's office and accessible by a 6-foot tunnel. The bunker itself was equipped with basic amenities such as a commode toilet and a closed-circuit television system. Within its walls was a soundproof chamber the size of a coffin, replete with a bed and a television, where little Beers was horribly tied. The frightening discovery came later, when Esposito acknowledged building this hellish location just for Beers. A revelation confirmed by Beers herself, who remembered innocently playing in the disturbed earth during the bunker's construction several years before her kidnapping. As the crisis worsened, Esposito forced Beers to record a frightening message in which she said she had been kidnapped by a knife-wielding guy. This foreboding tape was played at a payphone outside the Spaceplex amusement arcade in Nesconset, New York, where Esposito falsely claimed missing Beers. When Beers could not be located, the authorities were notified. Esposito exposed Beers to horrible ordeals during her imprisonment, visiting her on a daily basis for sexual assault while providing basic necessities such as food, blankets, and toys. Beers was restricted to the smaller chamber while alone, despite the fact that he allowed her access to the bigger area of the bunker during his visits. Beers managed to free herself briefly and escape to the bigger room by using a key placed beneath her pillow, but she was unable to get away from the bunker itself. Esposito disclosed to Beers his terrible plans to lock her in the bunker for the rest of her life. He even devised a morbid plot to fake her death, intending to snap a staged image of her sleeping and submit it to the police to create the appearance of her death, though this diabolical plan was never carried out. Esposito's guilt became clear early on in the police inquiry. prior charges of sexual assault, witness testimony at Spaceplex, and the finding that Beers' disturbing phone message had been pre-recorded all pointed to him as a suspect. On January 13, 1993, 17 days after her kidnapping, Esposito admitted to holding Beers hostage, bringing law enforcement to the bunker, and eventually rescuing her from the depths of this heinous nightmare. Furthermore, on June 16, 1994, the legal ramifications of Katie Beers' traumatic ordeal began when the offender, John Esposito, pleaded guilty to the crime of abduction. On July 27, 1994, he was sentenced and got a harsh punishment of 15 years to life in prison. This sentence was to be spent at the Sing Sing Correctional Facility in Westchester County, New York. Esposito's trial exposed the horrific truth of Beers' confinement, with her evidence including an allegation that she had been raped while imprisoned. While he was not legally charged with this crime, the judge presiding over the hearing noted Beers' comment, adding a terrifying element to the act's already horrific character. However, the judicial actions did not completely shut the book on this unfortunate event. On September 4, 2013, Esposito's life took a tragic turn when he was discovered dead in his jail cell. The suspected cause of death, which occurred just after his fourth parole hearing in 2 decades, was natural. This event marked the end of a tragic chapter in the criminal justice system, but the scars of the past remained for everyone involved. Sal Hillary, who was accused of sexual assault, was also named in this horrible story. Hillary was convicted of 2 counts of sexual assault and sentenced to 12 years in prison for his crimes against Beers. The kidnapping inquiry found that Hillary had sexually molested the little girl before her abduction. As a result, he was charged with new offenses linked to these prior offenses. In a terrible turn of circumstances, Hillary died in jail in 2009, giving another layer of melancholy closure to this disturbing tale. Following Beers' rescue, officials took measures to provide her with a more secure and supportive environment. Beers and another child had been neglected and abused before their kidnapping, so she was placed in the care of foster parents in East Hampton, New York. This alteration was intended to protect her from future injury and to allow her to recuperate. Beers was allowed privacy and the opportunity to grow up away from the public glare while living under the protective wing of her foster parents. The foster parents were critical in giving her the care and support she required to overcome the trauma she had experienced. Beers eventually recaptured her life as she grew into maturity. Beers broke her long-held silence in January 2013, openly discussing her story for the first time. She indicated that she had moved on from the tragedies of her past and was beginning a new chapter in her life. She said at the time that she was married, a mother of 2 children, and worked in the insurance sector. This was a watershed event in her journey of resilience and healing. Beers opted to tell her tale more thoroughly by publishing a memoir in the same month she spoke out about her experiences. The biography was a moving monument to her courage, revealing the unthinkable trials she encountered and the triumph of survival over adversity. Katie Beers emerged as a survivor and a symbol of hope as a result of her bravery and endurance after surviving unimaginable experiences. With that, let's move on to the burning question. Where is Katie Beers these days? Katie Beers was discovered alive in John Esposito's basement, so authorities intervened to provide care and placed her in foster care. Her childhood had been difficult, with a biological mother who ignored her. As a result, Beers was placed in the care of her godmother and the godmother's husband, who subjected her to sexual and physical abuse. Beers' life improved as a result of her tragic experience. She was put into a nurturing foster family in East Hampton by the authorities, where she found refuge with 2 kind parents and 4 siblings. This was in sharp contrast to the problematic milieu she had previously encountered. Beers remained silent about the incident for many years. On the 20th anniversary of her captivity, she chose to share her story with the rest of the world. Beers co-wrote Buried Memories, Katie Beers' Story, a moving story of her kidnapping and incarceration, with writer Carolyn Gusoff. This brave act of sharing her experience provided catharsis and put light on the incredible difficulties she had encountered. Beers has established a new life in Pennsylvania with her husband and 2 children. Her path from a tragic past to a place of healing and resilience is a monument to the human spirit's power and the potential for hope and regeneration in the face of tragedy. As we reflect on Katie Beer's terrible story, we wonder, how does resilience change the human spirit in the face of adversity? Well, that's it for today. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos. Thanks for watching the video. We'll see you at the next one.